Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, July 15th, 2019.
Commissioner Garcia, Cabello, James, Davis, and Caloza are present. President James, you do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Brett McReynolds, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Abram Tejeda with Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Crystal Lee, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Asad Al-Najjar, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Khalil Garrios, LA Sanitation and Environment.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we did receive one speaker card under general public comment today. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We received speaker cards on all the items for today's agenda as well.
Okay, we'll close the commentary under the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Agenda item number 1 is a tree removal at 11472 West Laurel Crest Drive in Council District 2. There's been a request by the applicant to continue the item because the applicant is out of the country. I've also been in communication with the Urban Forestry Division at Streets LA and with the attorney for the opposer, I guess we'll call them the protester. And August 5th is a date that seems to be available for everyone, including myself. So without objection, we'll continue that agenda item number 1 from today to August 5th, 2019. All right, thank you for all the info and everyone that showed up today. And the hearing will be held at that time. Let's go ahead and take general public comment. Mr. Sachs. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I hope everybody's well. Had a good weekend. For the record, Arnold Sachs. Do a little something different this week. I'm going to read from Sunday's LA Times a couple of things from the Metro section, from the California section. Essential politics. There's 2 items here. One is how the wildfire fund for utilities work. Gavin Newsom just signed a bill into law, a big article about it. It mentions that the law extends the State Department of Water Resources charge, originally expected to expire in 2021, for another 15 years. Now, this bill was going to create a wildfire fund to help the utilities overcome their costs. But there's already a law in effect. They're already collecting money. It says right here, it extends the bill. It also states the bill took effect immediately with the governor's signature, but it will take months for the money to get in here. Now we are cognizant of the fact that we now have to implement this legislation. Well, if it took effect when he signed it, then what do they have to implement it for? This is kind of like that bill for the Lyft and Uber are fighting. The courts recognize the employers, the drivers as employers. And now the state of California is getting involved in some fancy shuffling of the cards to try and change that situation. If the courts recognize the drivers, the drivers as employers, why aren't the cities like Los Angeles, who has a fund to fight wage theft, why aren't they fighting the companies to uphold the law? And very quickly, there's another one here that he signed a bill Tuesday into law making low-income adults eligible for the state's Medicaid program. I thought the state had a Medi-Cal program, not a Medicaid.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. That will close general public comment. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, May 29th, 2019, and Friday, May 31st, 2019, from Commissioner Cabello? Any objection to the approval of those minutes? Without objection, those meeting minutes will be approved. Agenda item number 4, Authority for Expenditure, Outfront Deco Street Furniture, LLC. Street Services is requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $47,253.43 for payment of invoice numbers 61719A for $7,494.76, 6178 61718B for $19,086, and 61719C for $20,672.67 from Outfront Deco Street Furniture LLC for the removal of the shelter at eastbound Washington Boulevard, far side Figueroa Street, installation of new flat A1 LED shelter at southbound Grand Avenue near site Washington Boulevard, and installation of new SMV, which is that, I guess we'll find out, SMV Boulevard, LEV, South Mar Vista Boulevard or Santa Monica? I don't know what SMV stands for. LED shelter at southbound Broadway, far side Washington Avenue, as part of the Washington Boulevard Transit Enhancements Project. According to their contract with the city, the transit shelters can only be removed and reinstalled by the vendors, and that would be the vendor. Ms. Shatanda. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, sir.
No, I think.
Oh, you're right, Mr. Sachs. You have a card in on this item. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. We'll start with Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you again. For the record, Arnold Sachs. There's several things wrong with this item. I don't know if
It's
you read this
southbound Grand.
correctly. We could start with near site versus
Oh,
far
no,
site,
no, it does
as
say
the
SMV
president
Boulevard.
mentioned. But it's requesting the board approve the execution authority for expenditures of $47,000. And then it says for payment of invoice, it's from, so they're
South
paying
Mar
the
Vista.
invoices from the Furniture LLC for the removal of shelter. But why are you paying for removal of a shelter when it says down here at the bottom, according to the contract with the city, the transit shelters, which are bus shelters, can only be removed and reinstalled by the vendors. So if the vendors are the ones that are going to remove it, why is the city paying them? Are the city going to pay for them to install the bus shelters, reinstall the bus shelters? That doesn't make sense at all. Why would the city pay a company to remove their own stuff? We don't have any answers here. Maybe we could talk to the mayor. You know who we could talk to? We could talk to Mark Ridley Thomas. He probably has his hand in this thing. He's big on bus shelters. And again, the other part of this that you should look into is how much are they paying in ad revenue for this bus shelter? How much ad revenue comes to the city from the bus shelters? You know, they put up all these movie signs and posters and everything else. How much money goes into those particular city council office? Because it doesn't go to the city council district, and it doesn't go to the neighborhood councils, and it doesn't go to the YMCA. It goes to the sitting city councilman's personal fund for his own personal projects, which he can hand out like you get mints at a good restaurant. Just take a spoon and scoop them up.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Go ahead, sir. Mr. Donda, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Nishit Danda, Bureau of Street Services. This project is a grant-funded project, and as part of the requirements of the grant, we are required to install bus shelters, 3 bus shelters. The one I believe that was referred to, it says remove. It's actually remove, protect, and then replace after we repair the sidewalk in that area. The amount of $47,253 is the authority for expenditure that will be reimbursed by the grant once the work is completed.
Okay, so it's grant funded, and the contract with Outfront Deco requires that the vendor be the one to do the work. There may be any number of reasons about that regarding or for that, including the fact that they manage the asset and handle the asset, know how to work with the asset. But what is SMV on SMV Boulevard? It's the same listing throughout all the paperwork. I was trying to find an explanation for it.
It is what is known as a semi-V shelter. It's a style of shelter.
Oh, that's the type of shelter.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a,
What threw me off was the BLVD, the boulevard after it.
Yeah, it's like,
It's an SMV Boulevard LED shelter.
yeah, I think it's called it's like the profile of the shelter. It's a style, essentially.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Cabello.
Thank you, President James. Which council district is this in?
Well, it splits between Council District 9 and Council District 14. I believe there's one of the new ones, one of the old ones will be in each of the districts, and the remove and replace is in, I believe, Council District 9.
Okay. So, Dr. Campos, I think moving forward for authorities for expenditure, even though these are pretty simple and straightforward, it would be helpful for the bureaus to include not only the amount, but the length, the terms of engagement in terms of the length of time, as well as the council districts. I've asked sanitation to do that, and they've been a lot more robust in their materials when they hand over
We've made the request by the bureaus, but if this board would like, before they get onto the agenda, so we can just not put them on until all the information is complete before
That
we
would
can
be
agendize
helpful,
them.
I think.
It may delay some payments, but I think to your point, we could just get all the information that you need up front.
Well, we don't want to delay payments, so I don't want to be maybe
don't
that
wanna delay payments.
difficult. No, let's not do that. But let's make sure
Remind them again.
that from this point moving forward, we'll grandfather in the current requests and moving forward make these requests of the bureaus. And just also for the record there, for the board packets that are uploaded onto our iPads, so we don't have to use paper, there was no backing documents.
On the AFE?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Using paper, I had backup documents.
I'm very mindful of the environment, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. I try, but when I run the meeting, I have to use paper. Dr. Campos, but we don't, I think neither Commissioner Cabello nor I want to delay payments related to that. If
We'll
I
send
can
another
read
reminder
her
to all
mind.
the bureaus.
Okay. She made that clear. Thank you. All right, so I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Cabello. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Any issue sending number 4 forthwith? We will send number 4 forthwith. Agenda item number 3 is an authority for expenditure. Truck owners on file. Street Services and Accounting requesting board approval and execution for an authority for expenditure in the amount of $10,500,000. Did you have a question on the last one, Commissioner Garcia? You did not. Okay. $10,500,000 to pay for the Bureau of Street Services as needed truck program. We do this every few months. As part of this AFE, the Bureau requests that the board authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the authority for expenditure and any as-needed trucker agreements requested to meet the service demands of the program. As-needed truckers supplement existing staff in transportation of materials, equipment, and debris throughout the city to maintain service levels provided by the Bureau, most notably in the pavement preservation program. Mr. Sachs on agenda item number 3.
Thank you again. For the record, Arnold Sachs. $10,500,000 to pay for as-needed truck program. As-needed truck program. That's a lot of money to pay for as-needed trucks. And if I'm heard correctly, you do this several times a year, so it could be $20 million. Or it could be more than, it's actually more than $10 million. For what particular departments would create this kind of need that you'd have to spend $10 million for trucks and I guess drivers, because you have to have drivers too. Are they paid at the minimum wage? Are they paid at the $15 wage? Are they paid at the union wage to drive trucks? And debris, transportation of materials, equipment, and debris throughout the city to maintain service levels provided by the Bureau. Is that the Bureau of Street Services? So you go around the city and you see certain areas that somehow fall through the loopholes in the standards set by the Bureau of Street Services. And the loopholes are the size of the Grand Canyon. So you wonder who's setting the standards for the Bureau of Street Services. I'm not looking to get on anybody sitting here. I'm sorry that you represent Street Services, sir, but there's areas of the city that could use, like, some of those trucks they use in Australia or, Australia, when they deep mining those coal trucks that are size of small apartment buildings, you know, that can carry 100 tons of stuff. And you just heard the mayor talk about the trash that's piling up on the other side of downtown, where the homeless encampments are, that he's causing the businesses to
2
pay for
minutes.
the removal.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Our representative from Street Services, Jojo Hong. Hi.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jojo Hong from Bureau of Street Services, Fiscal Management Division. This AFE encumbers for a needed contract trigger for the new fiscal year. This is for $10.5 million, which should cover the entire fiscal year. And this is the same amount that we asked for last fiscal year and was approved for the last fiscal year.
Yes, I apologize. I created the confusion myself. It's $10.5 million. When I say we do it, you guys come like every few months.
Exactly.
It's to get portions of the $10,500,000 fund. So fair enough point, Mr. Sachs.
And this year we decided to do like one lump sum
Right.
to cover the entire fiscal year.
Covers the entire year. And we're spending the same amount of money generally that we've spent in the last few years,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, correct.
As far as the wages paid, that depends on the trucking company, but we have our contracts that require them to meet all of the city wage and standard requirements. I know because I sign all of them, and it takes a while. There's a big stack of them. Any questions? Okay. Commissioner Davis.
I wanted to ask, I know some time ago we had to increase the rate to make it comparable with the market rate of those who do truck driving and hauling debris and other industries within our culture. So we pretty much have maintained the comparable rate for those who drive trucks, pretty comparable to those who do the same business, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Because at one point we were underfunded for that, and I know that we had members of your bureau who worked on bringing us up to par. And of course, we got that feedback from some of the truckers themselves, many of whom drove in different markets other than just the city of Los Angeles. So I just wanted to make sure we still were on par with that. The other thing is that it seems as if we have done a great job in terms of our overall annual budget, $10.5 million for this service. And in terms of that, when we look at the numbers of truck drivers that we have on staff, has that also remained consistent in terms of the numbers of men and women that we have driving the trucks for this particular program? Is that pretty much stable?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Ostrander, hi.
Good morning. I wanted to answer one of your questions about the parable rates.
Yes.
Currently, right now, the rates that we're using is a 2014 to 2015.
Yes.
But we will be coming back to the board because we would need to reassess those rates. What we're doing is we're comparing the rates that the private industry is paying, and we're going to make sure that our rates are need to be brought up to current standards.
Correct.
So we will be coming back to you with a rate change on those.
Wonderful. I know that, in fact, we did go through that process, as I mentioned earlier before, and
Correct.
For us to provide the best services that we can and to be consistent with what we're doing in other areas, we're going to have to make sure that we keep up to speed in our programs in terms of making them effective. So I'm glad to see that we will be revisiting and keeping up to speed with this program to help it remain effective.
And we currently are going to be having about 65 contract truckers in the program. And Mr. James is correct. Get your hand pin ready, because right now they're at the city attorney for signature, and we'll be bringing them to you as soon as he finishes getting his
Yeah, they bring those over with a dolly.
Yes.
So,
So our capacity is about 65.
Right now, at the program, I think you have about 65, 66 contract truckers will be going forward in the program this fiscal year.
Thank you.
thank you, and I apologize for creating the confusion. It is $10.5 million per year. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending 3 forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Agenda item number 2, this is Sanitation and Contract Administration Personal Services Contract, 5-year renewal option for 24 on-call personal services contracts for planning and technical services for the Clean Water, Stormwater, and Solid Resources programs. Recommending that the board first authorize the Sanitation and Contract Administration to exercise the 5-year renewal option contained in the on-call contracts noted in Table 1 of the report, with the exception of the contract with URS Corporation, that's C124329, for planning and technical services for the Clean Water, Wastewater, Stormwater, and Solid Resources programs and other related environmental work. The term of all the contracts shall be extended up into July 23rd, 2024. All terms and conditions in the contracts remain in effect. The contract cost ceiling is determined on a project-by-project basis. And secondly, approve the report with the understanding that sanitation will return to the board at a later date with a follow-up report containing complete subconsultant utilization and pledge participation information for the 24 on-call contracts. That has been verified by the Bureau of Contract Administration. Mr. Pusti.
Good morning,
I'm sorry.
Good morning.
I'm sorry. Mr. Sachs is here. Mr. Sachs, for some reason you sit so far back there, I forgot you were here today.
Oh, well, I try to stay quiet when I'm sitting back there. Thank you very much. For the record, Arnold Sachs. Really quickly here, what happens to the contract with URS Corporation? That would be question number 1.
Well, we'll get that answer.
Question number 2 would be, is there a contingency fee here that would allow for cost increases? As noted in the previous item, you had the truck owners on file. You had a $10.5 million contract. It seems weird that you just keep rolling over $10.5 million since 2014-15. If that would be the contract amount without a contingency fee. And it also seems even weirder that A, there's either no money spent over that amount and no money saved from that amount. It's like, we give you $10.5 million, just shut up and be quiet, and you do whatever you need to do with that. So back to this item. Again, what is URS Corporation? And also in this item is that tricky word and. It said clean water, stormwater, and solid resources. That tricky word and, my experience with the Board of Supervisors, you know, that's like so fresh in my mind, I can't even begin to tell you that. Is it inclusive of the environmental work or the solid resources, or does it exclude the solid resources? And that is another contract that goes out to another company or another slew of companies that will come before the Board of Public Works to be authorized somehow or other, and written in small print that the city, the public, essentially is getting rubber stamped, just like the state just did with the governor signing money over to its state Medicaid fund, when the state doesn't have a Medicaid fund. It has a Medi-Cal fund. That's important to understand. A Medi-Cal fund, not a Medicaid fund. Thank you.
Mr. Sachs. Mr. Pusti on number 2.
Good morning, Mr. President, commissioners, colleagues. My name is Ali Pusti. I'm with LA Sanitation and Environment. I'm here today to request an authority to exercise the 5-year renewal option for sanitation's on-call consultant contract for planning and technical support for the clean water, which is previously based the same as wastewater, stormwater, solid resources, and other environmental related programs. Also, with the notion that once this board report adopted, we will come back at a later date and give you a full update on the number of tosses and contracts that have been vetted through contract administration. So just give you a little background, in January of 2000 or about 2012, the Bureau of Sanitation, your board, allowed us to issue a board request for a qualification for providing engineering consultant services on an as-needed basis to distribute for personal services contract on some consulting firms. In June 2014, your council authorized the board to execute an on-call consultant contract with the city's 25 consulting firms that were at that time approved for a 5-year program, for a 5-year duration, the 5-year extension, the option of 5-year extension to extend that. The renewal, the contract expires on January 23rd of 2019, and we are asking it to be renewed till January 22nd of 2024 for another 5 years. During this period, LSN established a list of 25 firms that provide specialized technical services in various areas that require industry experts, like pilot studies associated with the mandated and regulatory compliance, as well as facilities planning, brownfield issues, projects, mayor directives, or other related programs as such. Thus far, the consultants have all provided what they've been asked for, and they have gone above and beyond on most of the time and scope of work that have been provided to them. They have been reliable and a good partner and shown flexibility in our needs and to meet our needs and requirements. The extension that we're asking for to July 22nd of 2024 prevents any disruption to the ongoing programs, projects that we have right now and task orders. And also, during the last 5 years, 25 firms, they have had 6 name changes and or mergers. Thus, the URS was acquired by a company called AECOM, so that's from 25, we are down to 24 right
So
now.
AECOM's on the list.
Correct.
They acquire URS.
Correct.
So there's no need for the URS.
Absolutely. URS is actually dissolved, is gone. There's no more.
Go ahead. And that's in the board report with a little asterisk.
Yes, it does indicate that. Over the last 5 years, we have issued 86 task orders, and they have, and I'm proud to say today on the behalf of Bureau, that we have met and exceeded all of BIP's or Business Inclusion Programs requirements. There is while we were preparing this board report, there were more audit done, so the numbers are a little bit slightly different than is on the table, so I'm going to read the revised numbers to the record, and then I will provide a copy to Mr. Campos. So for MBE, we are at 21.9%, which is a little bit over 24 million. WBE, 13.22.
21% MBE?
21.95.
21.95, that's essentially 22 MBE.
22, correct.
Is that
okay?
21%?
21%.
It's 22% really.
22%.
From last year's performance?
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Davis is wondering over what period of time?
Oh, this is during the 5 years.
That's what I wanted to know.
This is during the term of this contract, at least till I think March of 2019, this was really closed off. 21.2, yes, 22%.
It's 21.95, so that's 22%.
Nearly 22%. WBE, we are at 13.22, almost 14. SBE, almost 19, 18.67%. EBE, almost 17%, 16.89. DVBE, 1.04. OBE, 10.91. And total sub-participation for the contract has been 62.97. Almost 63% of the entire value has gone to the sub-consultants, which I think is, in our opinion, is remarkable because it has brought in a lot of new expertise into the field which we have used that we are otherwise would not have been able to use. So as a result of this, we are asking you kindly to please approve this extension for another 5 years, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Caloza, before Commissioner Caballo's motion, go ahead.
Thanks, President James. I just have a quick question. So when you do the 5-year renewal, are the prime contractors allowed to change their subconsultants?
At any given during these 5 years, yes, they can change other subcontractors if they used to, but they have to do the mini outreach that they normally require by contract administration.
Were there a lot of changes for this renewal compared to the
There were
last
some
one?
changes, not, I don't know, I can't give you the exact number, but there have been some changes throughout the process.
And in terms of the process with verifying with Con Ed, is there a renewal of verifying what these are each time you renew the contract? Just for my awareness.
Yes, there are.
Because there's,
that's right. This is
a very large packet of.
This is advertised on Ellie Babin, so it is. They have access to that they can do that as well. But the process is that the task orders or this new 5 years is no longer being advertised. This has already been advertised. All we need to do is really contract, sign, and continue. For them to add on new sub-consultants, they will have to do the outreach, and they do that through BAVIN.
Okay. And so all the sub-consultants are already verified in these contracts?
The ones that have been audited, yes, they have all been. Everything has been verified, yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Closa. Commissioner Davis.
So I wanted to get a clearer understanding of some of the follow-up. I wanted to follow up on Commissioner Closa's inquiry. When we have each of these prime contractors that we are putting on the on-call list, they will come to us case by case, motion by motion, and then they will display their subcontractors at that time, or do they already have confirmed the subcontractors in which they're going to engage work in the future, or do they present it to us motion by motion before the board?
Both ways, actually. They have already, during the initial phase of the RFQ, they all submitted a list of potential sub-consultants that they thought they were going to be using through this period. So they may choose, depending on a task by task, as we move along, they may choose the ones that they have that expertise on that list that they have already provided, or they may come back with the new ones that they do outreach for, that they're not on the part of the original subcontract list, and they use those. So it's both of them.
They have not enacted agreements with subs for a 5-year period, or have they? Have they had agreements with subcontractors on these projects for a 5-year period?
They have agreed to them to stay their sub for 5 years.
So they've already committed?
They are those, as far as we understand, yes, they are committed to be on as their sub.
Okay, so if that's the case, then we can see what that looks like then, right?
Potentially.
Okay. Well, why don't we get a chance to see what that looks like, since we already know what that is? I will say that with regard to the data that you have given us for the 5-year period in the immediate past, I'm very pleased to see the effort that we have put in business inclusion and the motivation that we have to move in that direction. But if in fact it's true that they have come to some agreement with some potential commitments from subcontractors, it would be good to get a glimpse at what that is, notwithstanding that I understand from your testimony that they are free to change as each project comes along. But it would be helpful as a Board of Public Works to have a glimpse at what these agreements look like, despite the fact that you have done, in my opinion, a good job at sharing with us the success that we have had over the last 5 years. I'd like to see some of that going into it for the next 5 in the future.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And also, Ali, I would just thank you for the data that's included in the board report on each of these with prior tosses and their numbers. I think it's good for the public to see if they want to see it. And it's good for other contractors and subs to see it. It's available for them in the board report. So we appreciate that. Thank you for compiling that. So I've got Commissioner Cabello's motion. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 2 forthwith?
Thank you very much.
We'll send number 2 forthwith. So that'll, do those 5-year extensions come back for additional signature? Okay, yeah, good. All right, thank you. I can never remember whether some extensions do and some don't, so thank you on that. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice week.